And it's Carco and Carne back. It feels like a Monday, but it's a Tuesday, and that's a positive. That's a glass half full sort of thing. Carco and Carne, sponsored tonight by C&H Financial Services. C&H offers a variety of products ranging from traditional merchant accounts to a zero-cost payment processing solution, which eliminates the expenses tied to accepting credit cards. C&H also offers cost-effective commercial lending programs, which can help get your business the money it needs to make it through these unprecedented times. To learn more, contact C&H Financial Services at 855-600-2437 or go to chfs.us. And as I read that copy, I realize I should probably rewrite it. I have with me Mark and Kevin from Shades Apart. The word unprecedented has to go at this point, doesn't it? Are we done with that word? I should probably nix that.
It flew right past me. Like, okay. You were so smooth on it. I didn't feel a thing.
Like maybe we as a society should just agree. Let's stop saying this is an unprecedented time. It feels painful every time you say it now.
Yeah, uncharted waters. They got used.
Yeah, it's something.
Yeah.
Or then you start. Yeah,
but that gets used a lot too.
And you could go like down the corporate road and say there's been a paradigm shift, but then you sound weaselly. I guess unprecedented is where it should stay. You guys are 2/3 of Shades Apart. We love you here in Chicago. Let's start with the obvious question. You disappeared for close to 2 decades. It was 19 years in between records. We hadn't seen or heard from you. Let's go back to 2011 and let's start there. What happened?
2011 was,
or 2001. I mean 2001. Sorry.
Oh, okay. That's good too.
Sorry.
Yeah.
2001. I suck at math. I
guess you're looking for the year of our last release.
Mm-hmm.
Was around that time, and we had gone from independent label to independent label up until that point, and then up until whenever we signed with Universal. I guess that was
around 99, I think 98.
98, 99. We did Eyewitness and Sonic Boom, and then I guess at that point we were kind of burned out. That might be a overused phrase also, but I think we had run out of gas kind of just as far as the touring and writing, and we didn't intend to take such a long break, I don't think, but at that time we needed a break. So
there was a lot of stuff going on in 2001. I mean, or when we took our break, it was right around like 9/11 kind of happened at that same time, and the industry as a whole kind of just, obviously just fell off a cliff for a while, and we just happened to be at the point where we sort of felt like maybe the label was kind of cooling off on us, not really giving us the support we probably needed to keep going. And we were, I think we were in our early 30s, mid 30s maybe, and we were starting families and that kind of stuff. So we thought maybe it's time to kind of follow a different path for a while.
Well, and it was a weird time musically too. I would guess at the time, thinking like what the label might have thought, maybe you weren't punk enough for the punks and not rock enough for the new metal that was everywhere. Like you kind of occupied a weird position in everything that was going on at that point.
That's probably been the story of our entire existence.
That's what I was going to say. Like, that's our formula for non-success.
Yeah.
You should
I guess we never had a formula. We just kind of.
Yeah. I mean, we definitely had big influences of bands that, influenced our music, but I guess we kind of just, we sort of did our own thing. Of course, we had elements of whatever punk and elements of pop. And before we did our 2 independent records with Revelation Records that were pretty, up-tempo and aggressive records. And that's where a lot of people kind of came in to start to become our fans. I mean, we had done our record prior to those, Neon, was pretty slower, more melodic song. So we've always been bouncing in and out of, like melodic songs or like heavier songs. And I think now we're kind of back to maybe pre-1999 with our sound a little bit.
And we'll talk about the new album a little bit. I guess the good news from all this, your going away wasn't the result of acrimony, or you guys, it wasn't a traditional band trajectory in that you didn't want to kill each other at the end of touring and album cycles.
I'm going to have to look that word up.
I would definitely, I would definitely say there was no animosity.
animosity.
It was just we felt like it was time to take a break, and it wasn't like we broke up necessarily, because we're obviously good friends after all these years and everything. But I feel like we just took a break, stepped back from music. I mean, I feel like we never really stopped thinking about writing songs or just playing as a band in general, but we just took the time off from doing that, I think, as a band.
Well, we are going to talk about the new album, Eternal Echo, and we'll talk about some of the albums that preceded this, and we'll talk about how you came back together. I was looking online. There is footage of you guys from the Fireside Bowl in Chicago from like 1995.
Nice.
You were babies back then, I swear.
That was probably.
I mean, I met Mark when I was probably 16, right, Mark? I mean, I was, I think, a junior or senior in high school when Mark moved to our town. Ed and I, both went to the same high school, and then Mark moved.
I came in
to the same high school.
Yeah, I moved to the high school and met Ed. We were in the same year, and Ed knew Kevin, obviously, already, and they were kind of all doing music stuff, sort of, right?
So I mean, it's
Ed
funny
was
story.
in a cover band.
Yeah, but Ed and I knew each other from the marching band in high school. So I was a trumpet player.
Sweet.
And Ed was obviously a drummer. And, I used to go watch him play with some of his, the cover bands that he was just playing in high school, just, jamming in his mom's basement. And that's when I was like, oh, I gotta ditch the trumpet and, try something cooler. So, the bass seemed less complicated with 4 strings. So I kind of was attracted to that.
See, and that's smart. My son, when he took an instrument in middle school, he decided to take the trombone or learn the trombone.
Ooh.
I'm like, dude, unless you're going to play in like a New Orleans funeral band, you're not going to want to stick with that instrument. I'm like, learn guitar, learn drums. But sure enough, played the trombone. He was done with it. The reason why I bring up Fireside Bowl back in the day, it's a perfect segue to bring a mutual friend into the Zoom conversation. He's a former guest of Carcon Carne. He's a friend to all. He is 88 Fingers Louie frontman Dennis Buckley, joining us from his private lair.
How are you?
He's working on connecting to audio.
I see.
Oh,
things are happening.
He's a textbook man of leisure. He's in like full recline. You see that, right?
Yeah.
He's done this before.
I think he's got someone else holding the.
Not well. Not well.
So, that was great. That was so great to see him again. Wow.
He may pop up again.
He might.
So let's talk about what brought you guys back together. Obviously, you stayed in touch because you're friends. You just had adult things going on.
Exactly.
It was a shared tragedy or shared loss that brought you back together?
I mean, not initially. I mean, I think, we never really stopped playing. We just didn't really, we stopped touring and, we didn't, instead of playing whatever, 100 shows a year, or whatever it was, I don't even know. It was like, 3 shows a year. So we would just.
Yeah, if that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, right. And we had done some recording at the Blasting Room in Colorado for the past records. And we kind of developed a pretty good relationship with those guys. And back in, Mark, I need help with the date. It might have been 2011.
It was 2011. Yeah, that number came up before. But,
they kind of reached out to us and said, hey, we got some studio time. You guys should come out and record some songs. And we're like, well, it's kind of far to go. We don't really have a lot of songs. Anyway, we worked it out and they were great. We went out there for a long weekend and did 2 songs. And that kind of kick-started hey, we got to keep this going. Let's keep writing. And of course, as soon as we got home from that trip, that kind of fizzled out.
Wait, the other side part of the story was that that happened during Hurricane Irene. We went out to Colorado. As we're leaving, they're talking about this hurricane coming up the coast. So we're saying goodbye to our wives and families and all right, we're going to go record a couple songs. We'll be back. We're going to Colorado, and we're leaving them kind of, all right, you guys got this hurricane thing. We're going to go play.
It'll be fine. It'll be fine. The weather people exaggerate.
Yeah.
So I came home with a foot of water in my basement. That was
That's
fun.
right.
Is Dennis Buckley with us? Dennis keeps fading in and out. It's like a fever dream. I keep seeing his face. I don't know if he's actually.
Make some noise over there.
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm here.
I thought it was just me.
No.
What's up, man?
Hey guys,
How's it
What's
going?
up?
good. It's been a minute.
It has.
Been a long minute.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you guys have punk rock stuff to discuss? I can leave the room.
I want to take this time to apologize again for 1995's Toronto faux pas on my part. We 88 Shades Apart were part of was that Snow Jam? Was that
Wait,
what-
you didn't hear the interview up until this point?
No.
Okay, because the guys talked about that you did a show, you did Snow Jam, but they didn't go into the 88 faux pas, which I'm dying to hear about.
Yeah.
Oh, well, you know,
I'm kind of curious to hear about it too.
I've lived with this for the better part of 25 years. So we did a handful of Eastern Canada shows. And I think the last show we did together was in Toronto. And I want to say Blink 182 might have been on that show. And it might have been even been before they were called Blink 182. They might have just been called Blink at the time. And they were
we did play. I remember playing. I feel like that was in San Diego though.
We played not a handful, like maybe 2 or 3 Blink shows before they blew up, and they even had a different drummer at the time, right?
Yeah, they had a different drummer because like Toronto and a couple of shows, the people behind Snow Jam put everybody up, but the Toronto show was the last show of that run, and I don't know if one drunken night at some bar we're like, you should come up and do a song with us, and I'm like, yeah, sure. What song you guys want to do? And you guys were doing Hope by the Descendants. Right?
Really?
Wasn't that the...
Yep, we did do that.
And so you guys said you want to come up and sing Hope. I'm like, yeah, dude, Descendants, #1 band of all time. Yeah, let's go. Okay. And I went up there and I sang the first line and completely biffed the rest, and actually ran off stage, and Kevin sang the rest of the song.
See, that you're just giving me my opportunity to shine.
That's it. He's propping you up.
You mean that wasn't planned that way?
It was not planned that I screwed up. No.
Well, listen, I hope you didn't lose any sleep over that for 25 years.
Dude, I haven't. I faintly remember even playing that song out.
Yeah,
we did it.
I want to say you guys
It's
might have been
back
doing
to me
it
now.
Yeah, you guys had already maybe started doing the 20 Eyes.
Maybe. I feel like
you guys were comfortable enough doing that live, so you guys decided on doing Hope, and I'm like, this is gonna be great, man.
Okay. Yeah.
Everybody knows that song.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
See, here's the thing. Dennis has held on to this shame for decades now. But as a music fan, as someone going to I see so many concerts where it's the same set list every night. It is the same patter in between songs. I like seeing sloppiness. I like seeing unpredictable shit. I like seeing train wrecks because that's just.
You should come to more of our shows.
I was gonna say you've been to enough 88 Figures shows, you know.
Right, but that's what makes shows memorable. It's not like going to see a Broadway show where you get the same product every night. It's that it's one of a kind. You get a special experience. If it's Buckley biffing the Descendants, awesome.
No Jam 2.
I mean,
bring it back. Oh, bring it back.
When you're out touring and playing the same songs over and over and over, it gets pretty tight, and the slip ups are far and few between. But like nowadays, like when we're playing, like I said, 2-3 times a year, it's kind of always an adventure. So
adventure.
Chances are high you'll see something, fun.
So Dennis, before you came on, they were talking about how when they decided to kind of just start families, focus on other things beyond Shades Apart, it was 2001. Obviously, things were weird at that time, so they decided to put the brakes on a little bit. Seemed like the perfect time to come back into things is during the pandemic, as the world's on fire. 2001 was too much, but 2020, bring it on. Perfect time to come back.
Yeah, right. That sounds about right.
We've always had terrible timing.
We wanted to see how low we could get before we came back. Yeah, exactly.
Let's talk about Eternal Echo. This is a great album. It's 10 songs. It's a lean album. At least 8 of the 10 songs are anthemic. I love it. It is Dennis actually was the first person to say you've got to listen to this, and he's right. And the song
$5, please.
Thanks, man.
The song I want to start talking about is 95. It's the unofficial title track on the album. nostalgia is a tricky thing to navigate around in song, in conversation. You never want to be too maudlin about the past or not optimistic enough about the future. I feel like this hits all the right notes. Tell me about the song. We'll start with Mark.
I will say that Ed had this theme for a song, and it was, like you said, looking back to that time in your life. And for 95, it was kind of hits the mark for us, like when we were kind of finding ourselves as a band. And he wrote, I wouldn't say a poem, but he wrote a song lyrically, right? So he had all the words together and everything. And that came to me. I mean, that's kind of how we were functioning as a band anyway. We weren't really necessarily pre-pandemic. We were self-isolating at home with our families and communicating through email, sending music files back and forth, and that's how we were putting songs together. So he sent me that lyric, and I was like, man, this could be a really great song. So I almost immediately a melody came into my head to go with that whole theme. And I know I really give all the credit to Ed for like writing such a inspiring song,
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people may not know this, but Ed's responsible for a large portion of our lyric content. I mean, he's not just the drummer; he's a big part of the songwriting team for sure.
Yeah, I love it. And another song that stands out to me is Dark Valley Lake, which has almost like this classic rock power ballad feel to it. Tell me about that song.
I think that was kind of a similar approach. Like, I guess with these songs, we didn't necessarily say, oh, I got this riff. Like a lot, like, I feel like in the past, we were kind of like driven by like, okay, this is how this guitar riff goes, or this is how this bass line goes. And I kind of, with this record, it was kind of cool to approach it the opposite version of what we usually do, where we would find lyrics to go with the melody, so that was another song like that. And a similar approach, I guess we both
yeah, I mean, my memory of that song coming together was you had a very acoustic sort of driven song,
like original version of it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like the idea was very, pretty mellow, like sort of how the song starts, and it was very cool. And I mean, over the years, we've always had these, like, I don't know, I always call them like sort of like the shades apart, what would you call it? Ballad, it's like, they're not really ballads, but the sort of slower tempo. They're like, kind of get to the big, the big hit chorus or whatever. And it just, I kind of felt like that song could be really cool with a some pummeling bass and drums behind it. And then it kind of like maybe turned it a little bit from what maybe Mark's original idea was, but still keeping, the whole melody line that he had and everything intact. And then I think lyrically, I remember the story Ed was telling, at least this is what he told me, that it kind of was inspired from either some conversations he had. Ed's an English literature teacher in high school. So I don't know if this was some conversations he had with some students or from reading assignments, but it was really kind of a story around, I think, like depression, wasn't it, Mark? Kind of like Dark Valley Lake was representing this place somebody goes when they're in their mind and when they're going through a bad time, and that's kind of how that song started lyrically, like to develop. It was kind of with that theme in mind, so Dark Valley Lake's not really like a real place. It's just like something that exists maybe in everybody's head, or anybody who's been depressed, or
right.
You don't know how long you're there for. You don't know when you're going to come out of it.
And you have the people, and his thing was that he has the people around him, friends and family, to kind of pull you back out of that spot.
Yeah.
So put a more, like a positive twist on it a little bit.
If people are just joining us on Facebook Live, I have Mark and Kevin from Shades Apart here. Dennis Buckley, the front man, the raconteur, lead singer of 88 Fingers Louie, a Chicago institution, is also here. And Dennis, I don't want you to feel awkward. I mean, you love the album and the band too. Feel free to jump in.
I have some questions I'd like to ask. No, I'm
Oh
kidding.
boy.
There it is. I just
Here
opened
we
the door.
go.
Sound as
This-
confrontational as possible. No,
This sounds just like just brings you right back to Snow Jam, man. Just
yeah, exactly.
that same attitude. Just jump in there. You start
right.
messing
Snow
up
Jam,
songs.
I've got some things to say. One thing I actually always wanted to ask you guys. Sonic Boom came out in what year?
I believe 2001.
One?
That was 2001. Okay,
Yeah.
and then you guys essentially split, and then you got back together for Dave's benefit or memorial, right? Dave Franklin's memorial.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
well, like
we had
Kevin said, we had done a few, as people would kind of request, we would play, local spots, nothing major. Maybe
Okay.
once, twice a year, something would pop up. We'd kind of relearn our songs, and then, but
Yeah.
like you were saying, that was kind of a big, for lack of a better word, a catalyst for us to kind of.
How
Yeah,
was it?
Like,
Yeah, sorry, Kevin.
No, that's okay. I was just going to say, yeah. So when our buddy Dave passed away, Mark and I, we were asked to perform a song at his memorial, not the benefit show. This was his actual memorial, and we were asked to do one of our existing songs, and we just kind of both didn't really feel like maybe that was the right fit for the moment, and so Mark wrote an acoustic song that he and I sang together, and a lot about what happened around that time played a big role in probably Eternal Echo. A lot of the themes that the lyrical themes revolve around, stuff that happened back then, and it was when we had that tribute, when the tribute show happened and the memorial, we saw a lot of people we hadn't seen in many years. It's like,
sure.
It was like a high school reunion or something, you know what I mean? And so
Yeah.
you kind of, in your head, you remember what somebody was like, 20 years ago, but they went around, they lived their life and they're who they are now. But when you see them, you kind of just wonder, you wonder about their transformation from then till now. And I think a lot of the songs deal with that kind of stuff.
Sure. And then that tribute show you guys did, was there a special request for you guys to play all the old stuff?
well, a big part of deciding to do that was the fact that we wrote a lot of those songs in Dave Franklin's mom's basement in our neighborhood back then.
Oh, wow.
So we kind of wanted to go back in time to that time and
Yeah.
kind of
It just
relearn
makes
those
sense.
songs from the record. Yeah.
When we recorded our first record ever, the self-titled one that we did down at Inner Ear. Dave drove down to the studio with us and helped sing some backups. I remember, and so back when that record was recorded, we were in high school, or maybe I was in first or second year of college. I can't remember. And it was just a lot of hanging out in the basement, couple bands, us, Vision, whoever else, just like Dave's house was a big hangout for people in the music scene, the local music scene, and we were part of that. And that's kind of when we were closest to Dave, obviously, and so we just felt like it seemed right to play the songs from that time when we knew Dave best.
Yeah. I got a kick out of watching that, because on the few shows that I got to see you guys play in the 90s, I don't know that I ever heard anything. I don't know if that you guys were even playing the pre-rev stuff when you guys were playing.
No, I don't know that any of those songs, maybe one or two might pop up, but
yeah,
you're right, Dennis.
Maybe you guys did Storm Clouds. I think maybe Storm Cloud might've been one of them, or Shadow of a Cross.
Definitely Shadow would pop up
Mhm.
here and there, Away every once in a while.
Yeah.
It was really fun to do do those old songs, because like you said, we didn't get to play them all that much. You know how it is, every time you do a new record, it's kind of like you lose a few of the songs you used to do on the older records in lieu of the new ones.
Yeah.
And by the time you're on your seventh record or sixth record, it's like, what can you do? Maybe 2 songs per record or whatever. It's,
Right.
So,
Yeah, it's a delicate
so
balance.
this is kind of a good chance to play all those songs again. It was cool. I'd like to do that again.
Yeah. You should do that in Chicago.
Yeah, man.
Let's set it up. You know anybody we could play with?
Fireside Bowl still happening?
I know a guy or two. We could see. One more question about the olden days. Save It was the first one you guys did with Bill and Steven, right? Or Bill and Stephen?
Correct.
Was that and I always want to know this too. Were you guys the first
Wait, Dennis, let me interrupt. For people who aren't as inside baseball as the assemblage here, you're talking about the dudes from the Descendants. Just for people joining us,
yes,
who aren't on a first name basis with the iconic Descendants, I just wanted to provide a little context.
Yes.
Thanks, James. Thank you.
Thank you, James. That's why
now I know what's going on too.
No. Was Save It the first or one of the first non-Descendants or all affiliated albums that they worked on? Because up to that point they were just doing their own stuff, right?
From what I remember, they were kind of on this like sort of production tour when they did ours. Like they had done, I don't remember the number, like one or two other bands like prior to us, but like within months of each other or weeks. I think it was literally like they were driving around and producing a bunch of records. Not a bunch, but a few records, and
yeah,
we were lucky enough to get their attention to do our record.
I feel like they oh, go ahead. I was going to say, I feel like they recorded that band Mustard Plug.
Oh, was that before you guys? Okay.
I feel like I remember seeing a list. This was once we got out to the blasting room though. So that was like a couple of years later.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe they really started kicking in with projects at that point, but I don't know.
It was probably in the beginning part of them doing it though, which was kind of cool.
Yeah.
So when we did that record, they came out to New Jersey and we recorded it at a studio called Tracks East here, and so that was just that was another like I don't know 3 or 4 days and the whole thing was done.
Wow. I think it was a 3-day project.
Yeah.
Jumping back into Eternal Echo for a second, Dennis, feel free to chime in as well. We talked about loss. We talked about nostalgia. The last song, is it the last song? Dark Side of Life. It's one of the last songs on the album. To me, touches on a lot of this stuff. It also strikes me as ending the album on a positive note. Fair to say?
Yeah, I'd say that's fair to say. I think a lot of our songs, that even though some of them may have like darker tones, I think we always put a little bit of ray of hope in there. Dark Side of Life actually was one of those 2 songs that we recorded in 2011 that kind of set the framework for the rest of the record. So
is that why it's low in the sequence, just because it's the least new for you guys and wasn't as interesting?
Well, I think
that's one of my favorites, but I mean, it's definitely like what you said, it's been sitting around in our heads. It's been sitting around for a while. So it probably did get kind of a little bit backburnered.
But also, like you said, James, I feel like it seemed like fitting ending for the collection of songs. I like that sounded good to me. I like that answer that you gave.
Yeah.
It kind of like says, okay, we're going to end this more like on a positive thing. There's a lot of dark shit that we talked about, but also, got to keep.
And I think when we were doing this record too, we knew it was going to be. We kind of had a feeling it was going to be vinyl too. So in our heads, even though it's sort of the last song, it's depending which side you start with, it may not be the last song. I mean, it is the last song in the track listing, but you know what I mean? It's like
could be number 5.
Could be the 5th song on the side.
Exactly. Hey, let's talk about the album. Is available. I saw a pre-sale bundle. First of all, it's a value at any price. Eternal Echo from Shades Apart. Limited edition vinyl, a handsome in any situation Shades Apart t-shirt. You can pre-order those bundles now. I think the black vinyl limited pressing of 100. There's colored vinyl. I mean, it's just cool and it would look good on any shelf. The shirts would look good in any collection, and you can order. The label site is, help me out,
hellmindedrecords.com.
There it is. Perfect. Let's backtrack a little bit before the present day, and we'll wrap up by talking a little more about Eternal Echo. And here's where the wise punk sensei Dennis can also jump in. Was Seeing Things the standout of Shades Apart Mach 1? The 20th century Shades Apart?
What do you think about that, Dennis?
Well,
I feel like
that is certainly my favorite Shades Apart record, and I have a distinct memory but to jog your guys' memory a little bit, the probably the last time I saw you guys play live, I unfortunately did not see the 99 through 2001 years, but you guys played. You guys remember playing with Shift in North?
Yeah.
You guys
Of
played
course.
a church basement in frickin' North Lake, Illinois, James. They played like a North Lake Presbyterian church.
That's amazing.
And what the coolest thing about that was you guys played that. You guys started playing Hiding Place. I remember that. I'm like, oh, this is a new song. And there was like harmonics all over the place. Like, oh, these guys wrote this song for me. This was right up my alley. And then you guys stayed. You actually stayed. We drove out to Naperville where I was staying at the time, and you guys stayed at our place. And I can't remember who I stayed up and punished one of you guys up all night. I'm thinking it was Ed, because Ed has a memory of this, where I was just like tell me what it's like to record the Descendants, because at that time we didn't, that didn't even enter our heads. But Shades Apart, or I'm sorry, Seeing Things came out in 97. Do I have that right? Yeah. So had you guys, when you guys did that tour with Shift, had you guys already recorded the record by that point?
Wow, I have no idea.
I know we recorded in, it had to be summer, because we went out to that we were talking about going out to Horsetooth Canyon or whatever. We were like jumping off the
into the quarry water,
the cliff diving or whatever over there.
Oh yeah,
out in Fort Collins. But so it was summer recording.
Okay.
But Shift, I felt like, what was that? I feel like we did an East Coast Shift thing, but then also
like in the fall.
Yeah.
So maybe you guys had already recorded it.
I think it was probably done. Yeah.
Yeah.
But,
yeah, that was a great show, and that that album start to finish for me is definitely my favorite.
I hear that often, I guess. I hear people say that.
I love Behind the Wheel. That's a favorite for me.
Yeah. Oh, that's what I wanted to ask you. If this hasn't been asked already, you guys re-recorded. Second Chances for Eyewitness, and then you guys re-recorded Behind the Wheel for Sonic Boom. Was that a conscious decision on your part to bring back a couple old songs, or was it like?
I feel like what's Behind the Wheel, that was like somebody's favorite song at the.
That sounds like a record company thing.
Yeah, like they were like, "Oh man, this song is so great," and we would like to hear what it sounds like on a. I don't know. Like to me, it didn't really change that much from record to record, but
it's like Bad Religion doing 21st Century Digital Boy 4 years
ago.
Yeah. I feel like it was just like, oh man, that song was kind of a popular one with whoever was it, at the recordings session or whatever, But I don't really know why. Well, how did we end up doing you reminded me that we redid that song also. Maybe
I remember
ran out of
we were at 88 was taking a tour of Blasting Room, and it was, I think Eyewitness was maybe on its way to being released or had just been released, but Jason said Jason and I had already had our full-blown nerd out over you guys, and he's like, oh, best band I've ever recorded, and da. He goes, you want to hear something cool? And we played maybe it hadn't come out yet, but we played the Rev version of Second Chances, and then the Eyewitness version, and he's like, which one's better? I'm like, you're not going to put me on the spot, man. I like both.
I think before we put out Eyewitness, we recorded. Is this right, Mark? Didn't we record some songs?
Oh, we did that, like kind of like a demo kind of thing with Jason.
Yeah, and that's kind of, I guess, it was used to sort of shop around the labels or something like that. So I remember Sputnik was one of those songs, maybe. Mark, do you remember?
I feel like it was. That sounds right. Chasing Daydreams was definitely on there.
Huh.
I think.
Lisa,
but it was like maybe 3 or 4 songs, you know, that we just kind of like were writing at the time, and we thought those would be good demo songs to kind of push around the industry.
Yeah.
Lisa in the Facebook live chat just wrote "Chasing Daydreams." Sigh.
Oh.
So clearly the song has made an impact.
So. Okay.
My one last old school question for you guys. And Kevin, I think maybe we messaged about this before. Is Fist Forever going to be the final Shade song in your set?
It's a good one for the final song, but yeah, I mean, it's been one of our closers forever. So
that's perfect. It's a perfect closer.
I don't think we've written a better closer yet, so probably still going to be there.
It just happens. Whenever if we do play a show, if and when we play another show, I'm sure it'll just suddenly, okay, all right, it's time to wrap up. Here we go.
Yep.
Time to play Fist. Yeah.
So
right.
A couple of you have mentioned Eyewitness came out at the end of the 21st century. Valentine, upon re-listening after some time away, this was the biggest hit that wasn't a big hit. This was the right song at the right time, and my God, it still holds up. This song, it's just a massive record, massive sound. Just it's powerful. It really hits all the notes for what I understand hit records to be made of. Were you surprised it didn't go farther?
I would have liked to have gotten bigger, but I guess we just weren't good enough. You know, who knows? It's just you never know what drives a lot of that stuff. But like that was a song when we wrote it. I was like, oh, this is the, you know, you just have those songs that you know are gonna do well, or they just kind of rise above the rest. And that was definitely one of them. Stranger by the Day on that record was another one, and luckily the label agreed, and those were the singles. But I don't know, it did pretty well.
Like I said, if you haven't listened to Valentine in a while, that song just it's a great legacy. If that was the only song you ever recorded, that would be plenty, and you have plenty more beyond that. So Eternal Echo,
Thanks,
back to that. The new album is out. It's funny, Ryan on the Facebook Live says, excited to hear they have more out. So many exclamation points. Yeah, there were like 6 exclamation points in his comments. So he is serious about the return of Shades Apart. This is long awaited. So and Francisco says Valentine is amazing. See, so it's obviously it's a tricky time. It's a shitty time. It's a weird time. You've got this new album. It's hard to forecast where you'll go or how you'll move forward in this. But I guess the headline is you're back. There's a new album. And is it just kind of like a play it by ear thing at this point?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think any one of us thought like this was going to be like a second shot at a music career or anything like that. This is just something we like. Yeah, we like writing songs together, and we wanted to put something out and maybe show our kids, the process and prove to them that we still have a little bit of coolness left in us. And I don't know.
Not working.
Of course, by the way, that didn't work. But
none of that is working. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you kids tell your kids, back in the day, we used to play in church basements in the Chicago suburbs.
That's right.
Yeah.
So I don't know if there was, I don't think there was a world tour ever in the plan. I think we were hoping to be able to play, some local and regional stuff that obviously we can't do right now. So the future's a little unclear on that as far as.
Well, you've got this great album out. And the question I ask every band during this time is, what's the best way to support you? Is it pre-ordering the album through the label? Is it Bandcamp? How can we support you during this time?
Yeah, I mean, all the obvious things, just buy the record. And the biggest thing you can help us out, if you like the record, just tell somebody about it, because
that's it.
The hardest part's going to be spreading the news. Hellmind has been super awesome. Joe, who runs the label, is just great at promoting. And, but, at the same time, we could use a lot of help. So best way to support us is just help spread the word, really.
I was talking to the band. We're Shades Apart, and Dennis from 88 Buckley's Louie, 88 Fingers Louie is here. I was talking before we started the interview about how I've been going on daily walks just to kind of clear my head, detach from social media, everything, the web, everything. This new album is great for going for walks. I've been going on 1 to 2 hour walks. I've taken it with me the past several days. Eternal Echo. It's great. It hits all the right notes. It's got the right tempo. It's got the right messages. I love it. So in terms of
Thanks, man.
my modest athleticism has benefited from Shades Apart's new music.
Right. That's right. Get your steps in. Buy the
That's it.
record. Get your steps in, people.
I got this Fitbit as a gift a couple years ago, and I was outraged when just wearing it didn't make me lose weight. Like I just
got to put in the work. Got to put in the work.
What a drag.
Does your walking pace change with every song? Like you kind of like, walk
a little bit. I like starting slow, actually. So maybe So What Now is not the best one to lead with. Maybe I have to work my way up to firing up your album. I like to start slow and build momentum. So maybe I'll start with a podcast and then switch to music or an Audible book. Yeah. Christine on the Facebook Live says, can't wait to see you guys again. Such an amazing band. Everyone grab a copy of the new album. Thank you, Christine.
Nice.
And Jason says, what's up, dudes? And I think you've answered that a lot. New music.
What's up?
Which Jason are we speaking of there? Do we know?
The Jason? No.
Please send our kind well wishes to Ed, who couldn't be with us tonight. He's got stuff going on. And I'm going to wrap up the Facebook Live. I want to say thanks to everyone who's been watching this as we've recorded this live. This will live forever on all podcast platforms and carcoandcarney.com. And before we stop the Facebook Live, I also want to thank the recurring guest, the masterful guest host, guest interviewer, Dennis Buckley of 88 Fingers Louie.
Thanks for having
Dennis.
us.
Yeah.
Good to see you guys.
Same
Thanks,
here,
guys.
man. Yeah, it's like you said, it's been a minute.